What's good, horror? This is your boy Horror Gamer back with another video for you. And today's video is a review video. So, before I get into anything about this movie, I'm gonna warn you now, spoilers all day, every day. If you've watched any of my videos in the past, you already know that there are spoilers ahead. Okay? So, if you haven't seen this movie, pause it now, go watch it or whatever you want to do. Or if you want to save yourself $13.50 and 2.5 hours of boredom, listen to this review. Okay? With all that being said, what am I reviewing today, you ask? I'm reviewing the movie Hereditary. Let me tell you guys something. This movie, although it wasn't bad, it wasn't good. And whoever fucking said that this movie is the modern day Exorcist is neither stupid, was drunk when they seen it, or was the director of the movie. Because this movie didn't even fucking come close to being The Exorcist. It had like maybe 3 scary parts in the whole fucking movie, and the rest of the time it was just ugh. I will say this though, there's a certain scene which I'm going to get into in the recap, that the main woman in the story, man, she is, I don't know her name, but let me tell you something, she is one fucking hell of an actress. I'm going to tell you this right now, because she really fucking made you feel like her performance in this scene just rips your fucking heart out, dude. Oh man. Okay, so it gets started. Here's how it goes. It starts off, they're going to this lady's mom's funeral. I guess she passed away or whatever. And you know, the little girl in the preview that you see, she was real close to her grandmother. And so they're at the funeral, yada yada. She goes up and she says things, you know, blah blah blah. And then they have this viewing, and then this lady puts some kind of shit on the dead mother's lips or whatever. And then that's pretty much it for the whole mother part, okay? And you know, the movie goes on. The little girl's all depressed. She starts seeing shit. I don't know if she's like a special needs, because I have a feeling that like she is, because I feel like she's in a special needs class, because in the class she was in, there were a couple kids that looked like they were special needs. So, and then they're sitting there, she's building this toy or this model or whatever, and she gets yelled at because they're supposed to be taking a test, yada yada, and a fucking bird or a pigeon flies right into the window, fucking kills itself, breaks its neck, blah blah blah. So this little girl fucking gets a pair of scissors, goes out and cuts the fucking pigeon's head off. I'm not, you know, it was in the preview. And, you know, she's just acting really weird and stuff. And throughout the whole time in this movie, she's constantly eating like chocolate and stuff, but she can't have anything with peanut butter because she's allergic to peanuts. So she's, you know, making this weird, because she's making this fucking toy later in the beginning of the film, where she's using the head of the fucking pigeon. Like, it's weird. Like, she, after her grandmother, she just started acting weird, you know what I'm saying? Like, really fucking weird. So she's sitting there building this toy, and all of a sudden she sees like this blue light or whatever illuminate out of nowhere and kind of like leave the house. So she goes out and follows it, you know, and it goes down to this field where she sees this, best way I could describe it is like this woman, I don't know if she was naked or not, by this big fire, and you know, doing something. And then her mom comes and starts yelling at her, you know what I mean, to get in the house and everything. And she has a brother who he asked his mom if he could use the car to go to this college party, or not college party, high school party or whatever. And she's like, yeah, does your sister want to go? He's like, I don't know, does she? And she's like, did you ask? You know, and they have this little back and forth. So when she goes and gets her, from outside. She says, you're going to this party, and the girl doesn't want to go. She's like, no, I'm okay. And she's like, no, you need to go, you need to meet people and stuff, yada yada. So the girl goes, that she doesn't want to, but she goes. And so her brother and her go into this party, and her brother sees this kid, this girl that he really likes. And he goes up to her, says, how's the party, blah, 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 trying to make small chat, and he's really fucking terrible at it. And then he's like, do you smoke? Because I got this really good weed. So they go into this room, and he's telling his sister, just stay back, you know what I mean? Go eat this cake. They have chocolate cake over there. And because she really likes chocolate. And she's like, I don't want to, blah, blah, blah. He was like, 10 minutes, go get a piece of cake. I'll be back, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so she goes, he goes to smoke, and she goes and gets a piece of cake. Here's where the fucked up shit happens, okay? Remember how earlier I told you that she was allergic to peanuts? Well, they put peanuts and peanut butter in this cake. So she's sitting there eating this cake, and she's sitting there, and all of a sudden she's coughing, and she starts breaking out in this rash and everything, and they don't have the EpiPen, near to get her. So she goes into the room where her brother's smoking. Her brother looks at her, he's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And then she's like, it's getting hard to breathe. It's like my throat's closing. So, in a mad panic, he grabs her, snatches her up, and gets in the car and starts taking off for the hospital. So they're driving down this road. He's going 100 miles an hour trying to get her to this hospital, trying to be like, calm down, everything's going to be okay. Meanwhile, in the back seat, I guess at this point, her throat completely closes, so she starts panicking because she can't breathe. And she's, kicking and, everything. And then she puts the window down. And I guess she, the kid gets some air through. And, she puts her head out the window so the air can hit her, that way she could possibly try to breathe. Well, when she does that, her brother looks over and says, don't do that. Get your head in the window, blah, blah. And then when he looks back, there's something laying in the road. And he fucking swerves to miss it. And he's going 120 at this point. He's flying down this road. Well, when he does that, he kind of loses control of the car, but he gains it back. And then he's driving, and then there's a telephone pole there, and he's going 120 miles an hour. Just his head's out the window, fucking smacks the telephone pole. Okay? And then he comes to a complete stop and everything, and nothing. And it's quiet. They just show an image of him just sitting in the driver's seat, like he wants to cry, but he's just staring off into a daze. And then he, after about 2 or 3 minutes, he just drives home. And drives home, parks the car, goes up into his room, and just lays there, and he's just still staring off into space. And then it turns into daylight, and his mom tells his dad, I'm going to go to the store and pick something up, because she builds before I get into this part, she kind of builds fucking models of her life, I guess is what it is. I don't know, or the town. I don't know what it is, but it's weird because she builds doll houses, and it's of her life and shit. And I don't know, she has some kind of museum exhibit or something that people want to buy it and see. I don't know, it's weird. Well, I guess she's going to the store to get these supplies. And when she does, he hears her say goodbye to her husband, his dad. And then you hear her open and close the front door, walk out to the car, and then get into the car. And then it pauses for a brief second. And then this is the part I was telling you where this woman's performance, who played the mom, was phenomenal. This part really ripped at your heartstrings and really made you feel bad. She started fucking screaming at the top of her lungs and crying, and then as they were doing that, they showed a clip of the highway where the wreck was, and then they showed the girl's head still laying in the road. So he I guess her head got ripped off, and he didn't go out and get it. He just left it on the road, and then he just drove home and left her body in the back seat with no head, and his mom found it. So she's screaming that she wants to die, that she just needs to die. And like, this woman's performance was like so believable that it actually kind of made me and my girl tear up a little bit, because I couldn't imagine, you know what I'm saying, getting into a vehicle and then looking in the back seat and seeing the decapitated body of your child in the back seat. Like, this woman's performance was fucking nominal. Like, it was so believable. This movie wasn't that great, but her performance in this movie was so good. Like, she actually kind of made the movie interesting. So anyway, back to the movie. So she's flipping out, crying, and they have the, you know, the scene in the preview where you hear her screaming, and then you see the coffin going down that goes into the dirt. That was the little girl's funeral. Okay, that was her daughter's funeral. So for the next 2 hours, okay, this is no lie, all this happened in about maybe that was an exaggeration. All this happened in about the first 30 minutes of the movie. So the next hour and a half to hour and 45 minutes is just a sob fest of this fucking woman and losing her kid. And then the last like 20 minutes, it gets good, where she meets this woman, and this woman said that she saw this medium or whatever, and it taught her how to reach out to her dead grandson who was 7. And so she was showing this lady how to reach out to her daughter. And so she does it. She reads the words, you know, to a T. And then she gets the glass to move on its own. And then her daughter's voice comes out of her mouth. She gets like possessed or whatever, and her daughter's voice comes out of her mouth. Scares the kid. And what else? And then you find out that the woman who flagged her down about her grandson is actually knew her mother, and they were like a witch's cult or some kind of cult trying to bring back this one of the 7 kings of hell or something. And then towards the end of the movie, you know, she tries to burn the book that was her daughter's, because it was a link to the spirit. And when she did, she threw it into the fucking fire, and her arm started catching on fire. So she fucking had to get the book out, or she burned to death. And then she's like, I know what I have to do. I know what I have to do. She kept telling her husband, I know what I have to do. And her husband's looking at her like she's a fucking psycho at this point, because she's just going crazy. And, you know, the daughter kept making this, I can't even do it, like, kind of sound like that. And then, like, during the movie, you hear it in the nighttime. You hear it out of nowhere. I can't do it, but yeah, she makes it kind of like that. Like, and you hear it out of nowhere. It was fucking stupid. Like, that was annoying. That part, like, annoyed me, because I think it's a stupid fucking sound. But they would hear that in the middle of the night out of nowhere. There is one scene that was kind of creepy towards the beginning, where it was right after her mom's funeral. She found like she went through her mom's things and found like this book, and just reading this letter that her mom wrote her. And then when she turned the light off, she saw her mom standing in a corner, and it was like standing there until she turned the light back on. And then after that, it was just, you know, and then the end, basically the whole thing was done for the possess this kid to be the king of hell, or one of the kings of hell. So they have this big thing. He falls out the window, basically dies, and the spirit takes him over. All in all, this movie was shit. Okay, this movie wasn't nowhere near as good as The Exorcist was. It will be nowhere near as good as The Exorcist was, or ever will be. So I just saved you about 2.5 hours of fucking boredom. If you want to watch it, go ahead. I didn't pay for it. Movie Pass paid for it, but if I would have paid for it, I would have been a little pissed. So there's basically the rundown of Hereditary. Not a terrible fucking movie, but compared to The Exorcist, the shit was trash. There's only one Exorcist. There's only going to be one Exorcist. So with all that being said, horror horde, see it, don't see it. I don't recommend it. Wait till it comes out to Blu-ray or even fucking Netflix, because it's probably going to come to Netflix. So until next time, this is Boy Hard Gamer saying, as always, don't fear the darkness. Praise it.